There. Now, no.
Hi.
Hello. Let's see, probably. All right. Sorry about that. That was a little crazy.
Oh, yeah, no problem. Were you having trouble getting on?
No, I didn't have any troubles getting on. No, I just totally spaced my mind. It's been one of those weeks.
Oh,
Oh my gosh, it wasn't Thursday and 4 o'clock and
no worries.
yeah. Anyway, I'm sorry about that. I'm glad that Zach gave me a text, and I actually had a call coming in from my computer to sign on to this.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I'm like, what is that? Because I've never heard it before. That's hilarious. So anyway, yeah, how was your week?
Yeah, busy and a little tiring as well, but pretty good.
Yeah, I've been having a little bit of trouble with my wrists and hands. So
Oh,
I'm okay to do I've been better since today and yesterday. So I didn't want to cancel class or ask somebody else to do it because I can do like minimal signing. So
okay. Well, whatever works for you is
interpreting over a period of time is a little difficult, but
yeah.
But this is fine. So
Okay.
Anyway, let me are you okay to look at the lesson on your end, or do you like
Yeah, no, that's fine.
share it? It's whatever your preference is.
Yeah, I'll just look on my end.
Okay, I'm gonna pull mine up too. Make sure I've got it open on a separate screen so I can look at it. So we'll definitely want to do our warm up. So here's the website. And we're on lesson 11. All right. So let's go ahead and do our warm up. And now I can't see you, so I'm going to, probably because it's on a double screen and I don't have my other monitor plugged in right now because I haven't been for a while. But let me see. I'm gonna change the view. There we go. Gallery view, voila. We on my screen again. All right, now I can see you. Now we can get down to business. Cool. All right, let's do Itsy Bitsy Spider and alphabet and get our fingers moving. Okay, here we go.
Okay.
Itsy Bitsy Spider climbed up the water spout. Down the rain and pushed the spider out. Out came the sun and
Dried up all the rain.
and the itsy bitsy spider climbed up the spout again. Okay. Let's go through the alphabet really quick. Well, not really quick, but just moderately quick. So whatever you're comfortable with. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. Numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 5 or 25,
Oh, yeah, right. Okay.
26, 7, 8, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34. Yeah, we can stop.
Okay.
I'm spacing. I'm like, we could just keep counting. And 1,000. Do you have any questions about any of the numbers or letters? Are you pretty comfortable with them now?
Yeah, definitely the letters. I think I just always need to practice like the 20s, but I don't have any questions.
Okay. Alrighty. So looks like I'm just going to look at last week's really quick. We talked about cardinal numbers and ordinal numbers. Do you remember the difference between the two? Which one is which? What are the ordinal numbers? It kind of sounds like another word.
Mm.
Put things in.
Oh, order like second, third, fourth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Ordinal numbers, and then cardinal is just the normal.
The 1, 2, yeah.
1, 2, 3. We talked about loan signs that you borrow from other sign languages, or so like the signs for the actual country, like the Japanese sign for Japan is this, and we and then lexicalized fingerspelling, where you fingerspell a word, a small word or something, and it becomes a movement that becomes that sign for that word, or placement sign for that word. Because sometimes there is a sign for it, but they also will sometimes choose to like just do it. Or like we talked about NO, comes a lexicalized sign that the movement is sped up and it becomes almost like a blurred thing, and then it becomes, this is the sign for no.
Yeah.
And then we went through our vocab. We did some fun animal signs. And looks like was kind of a new one. We talked about that. Read versus read. Like if you're reading it, like if you're reading it in progress or just it, like done,
Yeah.
or read, finish. Yeah, I read it already, finish. And then we talked about take, as in take up or adopt or evaporate. Is take, adopt, take up. If you're going to take over a country, if you're going to adopt a baby, if water evaporates into the sky, it's kind of all the same sign. Excuse me. We talked about time on a clock in the sense of like time what? Like time 3, like clock, right? And you don't necessarily, it's not really a number incorporated sign. So you're not putting the number in the location of day versus night, but we did talk a little bit about nighttime is kind of down, generally down here in signs that are related, like 2 in the morning or 3 in the morning or midnight, or kind of underneath the horizon, right? And then above the horizon was like sometime during the day. Putting it down halfway doesn't necessarily mean it's in the afternoon, because you could also say time when, like you could say like 3 in the morning or 3 in the afternoon, right? But there isn't a lot of, it's not like every single space in that area has a designated time and that's the only place you can put it. If that and then we talked about book that was in there. One of the iconic signs. Bird is kind of an iconic sign a little bit with the beak and stuff. It's kind of looking like what it is. Cat, especially with whiskers. Dog is a lexicalized spelling that becomes the sign. So D-O-G, D-O-G. And like you said, you use those signs a lot, the animal signs. So you're familiar with them. So don't know. Bird, book, bug. What's the sign for bug? Yep. What's the sign for get? Like as if you're going to go get something. Yep. Just kind of throwing some stuff. How about tell somebody something? You're going to tell them to do something. Like I tell, same, like you and I are the same, or it's the same thing. True, as in sure, real, or indeed. True.
Oh yeah, I wanted to ask you about this because then I was forgetting, because it was tell, but it was like really similar.
So except the orientation of your finger, see how your palm is facing towards for tell, and like this, it's sideways, true.
Oh, okay.
Straight out. True.
So
tell, true.
Okay, I was forgetting.
You can also use your facial expressions, right? And of course context. If you do movement really quick and you're not sure if they said tell or true or right.
Okay.
But if you're going to say tell the truth, you would say tell the truth, not tell the truth, because this means this is the noun truth or honest.
Okay.
But true or really or indeed. So
okay.
A little bit of difference there with when you would use which one. They're not quite synonymous. You don't necessarily swap those signs out for each other. And kind of knowing when you would use one, because you wouldn't say tell the true, you would say tell the truth, right?
Like that is true.
Is that true? Like really? That really happened? Yeah. They could be like, yeah, honest, that's the truth. So that's still in the same response. Or they could be like, yeah, true.
Really, that's true, yeah. Okay.
Either one would be a correct response, but you wouldn't necessarily ask that. Or the truth, or what did they say really? Or maybe you'd use those two words in the same sentence. So I don't know. I'm trying to think of different scenarios, but I think you get the general idea.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. So all right. Of course, because I clicked on the lesson, it just turned you off. How rude. Let's Zoom for you. Okay. So lesson 11, we're going to talk about some different types or structures of ASL grammatical sentences. So they've got and you can click on that if you want to. I clicked on the little thing when it says the different types of, are you on the lesson at the top,
Oh,
where it says what you will learn?
yeah.
The first thing where it says different, structures of ASL set types, you can click on that.
Mhm.
And it's talking about what types of sentences. For example, WH questions. The eyebrows are furrowed or squeezed together. Where, who, what, who is that guy? So basically what you're doing with, they're called non-manual markers. That means they're non-manual, not produced with your hands. They're produced with your face or your mouth, right? So it's what you're doing with your face. For example, you learn sign where, or where, I guess I'm going to say, I don't want to say the opposite of what he's saying. WH type sign at the end of the question, thus avoiding the need to maintain a furrow for a brow for the whole sentence. So you could sign, you learn sign where? Naturally for me, my eyebrows want to go up when I say where, and I'm not sure why. Why? And then there's sentence types, yes or no questions. So the eyebrows are raised a bit and the head is slightly tilted forward. So you're going to slightly raise your eyebrows. So are you going? Yes or no? Are you going? So you're waiting with anticipation for a response, and it's either a yes or no.
Right. Yeah.
And then there's a lot of sentences. So this is of course an English lesson as well, but what that looks like in ASL. So how are you going to show a WH question in ASL? How are you going to show a yes or no question in ASL on your face? How are you going to say a declarative sentence? So it's not a question, it's a sentence type. I mean, questions are sentences, but this is just a regular declarative sentence like, it says affirmative declarative sentences will sign with a nodding of the head. Like, for example, I will. I'll do it. I will.
Yeah.
Or I can't, right? Gate. Nah, I can't. Neutral, like I'm going to go to the store. Use a neutral head position and little or no shaking or nodding. So not really a whole lot of, because if it's a question, obviously you're going to put that non-manual, markers in there, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
Something, right? You're going to show it's going to turn that statement into a question. If those facial expressions, or if you like, head tilt, right? So maybe slightly, head tilted, nodding. Yes, I went to the store. Did you go to the store? Yeah, I went to the store. So again, different answers of declaratives. They're either yes, affirming it, yes, for sure, or no, I didn't, or neutral. There's no, it's just FYI, I'm going to the store.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think that all is pretty intuitive.
Okay. Conditional sentences. If, then. So if this happens, then this happens. And so you're asking sort of a rhetorical question. It's not really a statement or exact question, but for example, let's see, he failed class because he didn't study. So he's saying, indexing he, pointing to him, he failed the class. Why? He didn't study. So when you you kind of pause it with that rhetorical addition to it.
Okay.
When it's an if then statement. So there's usually a because in there, or I'm trying to think, he didn't really give another example. But most of the time it's a because and why thing.
Okay, but you would use
You wouldn't sign
Do why for
failed the class
because.
he didn't study. So you wouldn't just sign it in an English style. You'd be like,
Okay.
he did what? Failed the class. Why did he fail the class?
Okay.
Study.
Okay. So it's, yeah, you're like asking and answering the question, not just saying the
Mhm.
statement. Okay.
Right. You're answering it for them, which ends up putting the emphasis on what you want it to be on, which is the answer. If that,
Mhm.
instead of putting the answer at the beginning, well, I mean, you're saying he failed the class because he didn't study. It's connecting those two ideas together. And it emphasizes it in a different way. So it's kind of like, I'm trying to think of a different analogy. It's hard to explain. It's really just kind of a way to just emphasize it and connect it. They're definitely connected. And you use those a lot. You use rhetorical questions a lot, especially if you're trying to have two statements that are very strongly related to each other. If that makes sense, like there's a definite connection. Like there isn't, well, it could maybe be related, but there's probably a whole other reasons why this was the reason. If that makes more sense. You're not always going to, I don't want to say always. Let's see. It says to use a rhetorical question, make a statement using neutral expressions and then ask why. But instead of having your eyebrows down, raise your eyebrows. So when you're asking a why question, like you're like, huh? Like why? That's like a confused why. But then when you do a rhetorical sentence statement, like da 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 da, why?
Mm-hmm.
Blah blah blah. Then that's when the eyebrows are up, which is probably where my eyebrows up on where, similar to where, because sometimes you can do a rhetorical with where as well.
Yeah.
You can get these awesome blah 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 blah. Where?
Mm-hmm.
That store, right? So that's just another way to kind of use those questions, those rhetorical questions, to put highlight or emphasis on a particular thing that you're trying to connect or show.
Okay.
Let's see, topicalized. So topicalized question says, raise your eyebrows while establishing the topic. So almost the whole time, like the car. So whose car is that out front? That's the English sentence. Whose car is that out front? It says, then lower your eyebrows to ask the question. So that car, you know that car that's out front, whose is it? So you're kind of having the eyebrows up first to kind of topicalize what you're curious about, and then you kind of lower them when you say who, which that kind of seems like the opposite of putting the question at the end when you've got those, WH questions. And don't worry, there's going to be a quiz on this afterwards, and you're going to have to remember which one is which. Like you said, some of it is intuitive and some of it isn't.
Yeah, some of it definitely isn't, but yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. So, and that's topicalization. So what is the topic? The card that's out front is mine. So he's giving another example. Sign the topic with your eyebrows raised, then make a declarative statement. That card that's out front, it's mine. So you notice I still kept my eyebrows up for the topic because I'm talking about that card that's out front, right? Yeah, it's mine. And again, affirmative declarative statement. Yes, it's mine. So did you notice? I mean, it's probably really subtle, but I nodded my head, right?
Yeah.
I do it so instinctually because I do it so much that
Right.
I'm not trying to do it on purpose. I just automatically do it. But I do have to point it out. You can see the correlation between what I just signed and what you just learned, or at least what you're learning. So there is a mini quiz here. So we might just have to take the mini quiz. Maybe, I don't know if we should do it right after we learned it, or maybe let's go back and just review all of the different types, like what you do basically with your eyebrows for each type. And then we'll go through and see how you do on the quiz without like scrolling back up and looking. Okay, so first question type, the WH questions. We're going to furrow our brow for what, who, or where, or when, right? Because we're confused. And usually you say what you're talking about first, you know, who is that guy? Like who is that? Who? And then so who, and then point to him, who, point to it. Your eyebrows are still, right? And yes or no question, your eyebrows are raised, your head is slightly tilted, like you're curious, right? Curious, yes or no? You going? Yes or no? A declarative. Yep. I will do it. I will. Or can't. Sorry. Or yeah. Or I'm going to the store. Just let you know I'm going to the store. Neutral position, not really a affirmative or negating sentence. It's just FYI. Okay, conditional sentences. If this is the way this is, then because, or I like to say why, because, or those are the most common rhetoricals, like the reason why somebody did something or something happened was because blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
So you say, so he failed the test. Why?
Oh, right, because it's rhetorical.
Why? So neutral, you're explaining, failed the test,
Mhm.
the class, failed the class. Why? You didn't study. Sign, or you just negate, you know, facial expression. Okay. Topicalization. Whose car is that out front? So that car, the car out front. So you're basically topicalization. You're curious, right? When kind of think of it like a curiosity, and the other one is confusion. So when you're confused, your eyebrows are down. When you're curious, yes or no, or you want to know, I wonder whose car that is outside. I mean, obviously my eyebrows went down, so maybe that's a little misleading. But a lot of times when you're kind of like anticipating an answer, basically, whose car is out front? So car in the front, who? And then lower, they said lower for the who part. Who?
Yeah, right.
So car, who? Car, who? Who? And then topicalized sentence, that car out front, it's mine, right? Head nod, mine, my car. Okay, let's see how we do on the quiz. What type of sentence is it when you sign with the eyebrows squeezed somewhat together and the head slightly tilted forward? And this is going to be this is going to be a WH question. Is a Q or a yes or no question, a declarative statement, or an if then condition?
Well, I guess so. When he says eyebrows slightly squeezed together, I'm thinking like more of squinting, which would be the WH question. But
Right.
I thought he specifically said you tilt your head forward with yes or no.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, wait a minute, I'm going to go back up and look because I want to make sure I didn't tell you wrong, because he said eyebrows are raised a bit and head is slightly tilted for yes or no. This is probably going to be a trick question. I'm going to look. Because there's no other head tilt except maybe then you answer your question is using a head tilt. Instead of having your eyebrows down, raise your eyebrows. See, that one, it doesn't seem like it really fits any of the ones he said.
Oh, I guess it does say, and your head moves slightly forward for the WH.
Head.
Non-manual marker.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect.
I guess I missed that before. I was thinking it was just the yes or
Yeah,
no.
I think so. We
so
did.
I guess I'd go with
So your head is
WH.
so your head is moving slightly forward and your eyebrow is squinted. So that's WH. Good. What type of question are you asking when you sign a sentence with the eyebrows raised a bit and the head slightly tilted forward? There we go. There's
yes or no.
Yes or no question. Yep. What type of sentence should be accompanied by head nodding? For me, sentences, sentences without be verbs, simple affirmative sentences, or yes or no?
Simple affirmative sentences.
Yeah. What type of sentences should be accompanied by head shaking? You mind sentences, sentences about hearing people, questions which ask for a yes or no answer, or simple negative sentences.
Simple negative sentences.
Yeah. And obviously that would be it could be affirmative or because head shaking goes this way and this way.
Yeah.
Right? No,
Or
this is a
nodding.
nod. Actually, this is a nod and this is a shake.
Yeah.
To me, I think your head's moving. So
right.
But actually, this is a nod and this is a shake. Oh my goodness. Okay. All right. So answers. Answers A, we got that one right. The WH question. B was a yes or no question. C was simple affirmative, and D was simple negative. So he had one of each on there, sort of. I think there's more than 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 6, but all right. So what was the one we didn't do? We didn't do topicalization, and we didn't do rhetorical. So he did 4 out of the 6. So there was your grammar lesson for today in English and ASL.
That's good. I need more of that.
Okay, let's go back to our vocab. Oh, we need to talk a little bit more about some culture. Okay, I know what VP stands for after a phone call. So he's going to, so this is with TTY or a VRS phone call. Have you ever made a phone call like that before? Or do you know what that stands for? Do you know what TTY stands for? You can.
No, I don't.
Okay, so, and this is a little bit more old school, but they have TTY and TDD on their acronyms. So TTY, looking for, I know TDD stands for telecommunication device for the deaf. And TTY is telecommunication teletype. It's a typewriter. So basically, if you open up this thing and you click on it, click on the little VR thing in his little lesson, he shows you a good picture of what a TTY looks like. I was a nanny for a deaf couple, and they were both mostly profoundly deaf, and they used ASL as their main, language, but they also spoke really well to people, but they had to use a TTY device to talk on the phone. So you see those cups that are at the top of it's a little like a little typewriter. It's got a little screen that reads across the bottom. They also have like the little paper that you see coming out the middle between the 2 cups. So there's that little paper that looks like there's writing on there. That's actually a transcript that's printed of the conversation while you're typing it. And so you get on, you take your regular, old phones, which is where this sign comes from right here, because it looks like the shape of the old phones with the cups and the little bar thing with the little spiral like connection. So you take a regular phone and you connect that to the TTY and you call the TTY number and you say who you want to call. Now this is so that deaf people can talk to hearing people and other deaf people. But so you can call somebody's TTY directly. So the old way was be like my TTY would call your TTY and we would just type back and forth to each other. Or if you are a deaf person and you need to call a hearing person, you use the relay service with the TTY. And you type what they want to say. The relay says, blah, 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 hello, this is a deaf person. They're calling you. Go ahead. And then it's your turn and they say, hello, how are you? And then they wait for the response from the hearing person. The hearing person says, well, hi, so nice to hear from you. type, right? The relay person's typing and it's coming across their screen. Boop, 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 on the T2Y, and they're reading it, la, 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 and then it's their turn.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead. GA, go ahead. That means now it's your turn. So that way, you know, the back and forth, you know how to, when it's your turn to talk, especially
Okay.
even if it's a deaf person and you're talking to each other, GA means go ahead.
Okay.
And so they know it's their turn to talk when they're going back and forth between a conversation. Also SK, that means stop keying or stop typing. Go ahead means it's your turn. Like, for example, he says, if I type GA to SK, it would mean I'm ready to quit. Like, this is my last statement that I'm going to make, and then I want to hang up. And try to think, he's got some, I don't remember, I don't have dates on the years of when things transferred over, but
I've heard of VRS.
yes, virtual relay service, right? And then because they had a screen and they actually have a person on a screen doing this, and then they have a microphone, you know, so that when it's the deaf person's turn, they're voicing into the mic for the hearing person on the other end who's listening, you know, to that person, you're voicing for them. And then when that person's going, blah, 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 you're going like this, and the deaf person is watching and getting all the information. And then when it's their turn, they go like this, and then they voice. So the relay person has to go back and forth between signing and voicing. They also have the video thing where it's remote and both people are seeing each other. So you can pop onto the VRS and you can call a deaf person, but you can both do this to each other. And it's just like what we're doing right now on Zoom, you know, where we're talking to each other and we can do this. So any kind of any kind of technology that you can get on a video is perfect, you know, to talk to another deaf person, right? Because they have the full screen and they don't have to wait for a relay person.
Yes, smartphones are probably a game changer.
And texting. I mean, huge, just technology that provided such great bridges between the deaf world and the communication gaps. You know, they're not perfect. You know, relay still is not a perfect system, and neither is texting, because things can be misunderstood even between two hearing people, right? Emails, right? There is no, obviously, even talking to each other in the same language, we can misunderstand each other. So there is no perfect form of communication, but so great that they had, you know, so many ways to, which is a good lesson, that there's a little bit more talking in this lesson than signing, if you'll mind that I'm not signing as much, but
that's fine.
There's still a lot of good background cultural stuff that not a lot, you know, we have a good opportunity to discuss. So, okay, let's go back. Do you have any questions about that, or is that pretty?
No, I don't think so.
Somebody asked you what a TTY was, you could pretty much explain and how they used them. And
that's good. I didn't know about that, so that's definitely good to
know. Okay, we have the practice test for lesson 11, but we're going to wait on that because we want to go through the vocab first and make sure you've got all the vocab in there. Excuse me. And were you on at the beginning? Was there anybody else, or was it just you? Like, were you there a few minutes before?
It was just me. Well, I thought it was you, but maybe it was Zach.
It might have been Zach, because I think
it was a blank, you know, I didn't see his video and it just said ASL interpreter. So I thought maybe you were trying to get on and you couldn't or something, but okay. Yeah, just him then.
Because I missed, last week was just Angelie. No, last week was you. The week before
was just her,
only, and the week before was just her, but she wasn't coming again today, so I missed her not being here. So she did say she wasn't going to be here. That might have been this week, but it's been kind of a messy week for me. So anyway, so okay, vocab about. So this is a kind of called a flat O, because it's not really like a nice, you know, more of a structured O. It's kind of a flat O, is kind of like a hand shape, kind of like that kind of a hand shape. This is your left hand and this is your right hand, and your right hand is going around So think about, it's about, right? It's going around. You can maybe think of that little A squiggly with the A circle around the A. Maybe that's another way. That's the sign for about, the little symbol for about. So maybe that's another way you can remember. Excuse me. But I do need to, and he does it a couple of ways. He's doing it with, he's got his pinky kind of tucked underneath, but that's just the way that he's like signing it. It's not really like a different way to sign it. There's also about, meaning like almost. Here he's using another example. What is it about? What is the topic? What is the subject? What are we going to be discussing, right? So today's topic is, the name of the book is about, right? The topic.
So if you were saying like,
This is
the
also
book
title.
about, like,
No, probably because that, well, it could be, that would be more like,
or you do maybe title of the book, like title.
because you're going to use that for the title. So that example might be confusing in the sense of what's the book's title, right? You might think, you wouldn't want to say, what is the book about? You'd probably say that book, that story, you might say about, like, what is it about? Or maybe, no, because if you sign that, they would think title. Like, that's a good question, because it doesn't always mean that. I'm trying to think, let's see. It says the sign above can be used to mean title, quote, subject, topic, and about. Meaning, today's discussion is going to be about birds. You could sign, we're going to be talking about birds. You could also say, today's topic is what? Birds.
Okay.
So that's not a great example, but there's
I think
ways
kinda
that you
makes
can,
sense.
you kind of see what the meaning of that is, right? When you say
Yeah.
about what. But I'm trying to see if he doesn't always give a really good example. He says such about is the subject of an article or a book. This book is about, he did. He said this book is about topic.
Okay, he uses that.
This book topic, birds. So if somebody signed, this book is going to be about birds, and say, so in that sense, yeah, topic, subject, this bird is going to be about birds. So, I'm glad I scrolled up so I could see the writing that was above, because a lot of times he'll put a lot of explanation and examples below his picture.
Yeah.
Going below, and all I saw was this sign above can mean, and I'm like, oh, and then I'm like, oh yeah, there it is. Okay, so the other meaning for about is about, approximately.
So like an area or.
An area or a range.
Okay.
Of age or a range of height, or like numbers, some kind of a range. She'll be here about 5 o'clock. Time 5.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Ish. That also means ish.
Uh-huh.
Well, ish, but
around that time.
The general around, approximately, or so, thereabouts. So he said ish. Yeah.
Okay.
I've seen this for ish. This means sort of, kind of, right? I've also used this for ish, and I've used this for ish, depending on what the situation was. It says if you wanted to sign, he just about made it, you could sign he almost made it, like, oh, almost, or that was really close, like he almost didn't make it, or something like that. It says if you wanted to say I'm almost finished, you could sign I soon finish, or I finish soon. But this is like almost, like kind of a similar concept, right? But there's also almost, like, says the sign looks a lot like the sign for easy, except almost uses a single motion, and easy generally uses a double. So almost, which I have not used that sign in a really long time. Almost, yeah, a really long time. But it's like, oh yeah, almost. Probably just because depending on the setup, it means almost like it's soon. I've used soon, or almost like it's getting really close, like soon, like depending on what you're talking about. What's going to happen almost? Is it a time frame? Is it, oh, he almost made it. Oh, he was so close. Oh, so almost, he just signed it once, looks like left hand, right hand. It's kind of hard to see. I almost want to go look at the sign for the video instead of his picture. Sometimes he has the video in there so you can see the movement. But he didn't have it for that. He has it on the bottom for about. So you can see the movement there. Oh, excuse me. About. Okay, so that's about. Always. About.
Oh.
About. Yep. About.
Out.
Always.
Oh.
Going around in circles. Always. This means like forever, because it's always continue, forever, eternal, forever, long, always, and any. I click on, I'm just going to get in the habit of clicking on it every time. Any. So it means like this one, or this one, any of those.
Okay.
I kind of visualize that a little bit because it doesn't really have a good, because he said, is anyone in your family deaf? Your family deaf? Back. Okay. So back as in going back, like BK, and you're going in that general direction, like you're going to go back to whatever that there you was that you were before. And then of course there's your back. You can touch your back. And then it says you can use an A hand and move it backward over your shoulder a couple of times to mean it's in the back, like back there. It's back behind, back of the line, buddy, or back it up.
Okay.
If you mean make a backup of an electronic file, you should use a version of the sign get in the back of, which is a version of the sign behind. Backup. So it'd be like file backup, or you're backing it up. You're backing up somebody. You're supporting them. You're getting behind them.
Okay.
Or you could also derivative of with, but sorry, shoot me now. Oh my, not sure what that was supposed to be about. Okay, so different kinds of backs, right? Obviously, depending on what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Back is it's in the back. It's back. I hurt my back. Like come back. But as in B-U-T, not B-U-T-T. But this also means different. But or different. Let's talk about that. He says the sign for but is in general the same as the sign for different. However, I suggest that the sign for different uses a larger motion in general than the sign for but. So like but is the range of where you're going with your fingers is not as far, but different is farther out because you're making a distinction between this and this. They're different.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I remember it. So
Yeah.
But makes a big difference. Forgive me, I couldn't resist. Okay. The sign below could mean either but or different, depending on the rest of the signs in your sentence. You can do the sign larger to incorporate the concept of very different, like huge difference, right? So you can make it even more exaggerated and you can add your facial expression to that to say it's very different, like very different. And depending on whether that's a good different or a bad different or like different. No, just different. So depending on how you're trying to say it, it can have a whole bunch of different inflection and different meanings. with how you would say that sentence. Yeah, but it's different. Oh no, that's way different. Nah, different. Like, no, that's not really what I was talking about. I meant something different there. Think of just a few different implications of meaning, like how you would sign that differently. Okay, so but, and then different. Sometimes they fingerspell B-U-T, but so yeah, so saying sometimes it can be done like this or like this. Appropriate time to tell you a joke. So a deaf joke. Okay, so there's a deaf joke that the railroad tracks, those things that go down, that they're open, are called butt. It's called a butt because and they go down, right? So it's like the movement of that it's a deaf guy that I knew from a long time ago, and he thought he was hilarious for
That's pretty good.
You know what those are called? They're called butts. So, but anyway, all right, let's go back to where are we at? Almost out of time. That's my fault. I'm happy to give you a few more minutes since you lost some time since I was late. So that was my fault. So okay, let's get through this list. So call. So we have phone, right? We have phone, and then we have call as a named, like you call somebody. Hang on a second. I'm going to click on this because I want to make sure that it's the same. Okay, so this is call. Sorry, you're named what? So this call as in what are you named? This is call as in calling someone, like giving a church calling or assignment, or you're called to do something. It's your destiny, you're called. That's that sign. So but call isn't a phone call, and this is the old one.
Yeah.
This is also a way to make a phone call. So you got your bent right finger and it's on your left finger, and you're going is pointing out, and you're going from this end out.
Okay.
Call. Or call, like give me a call, like this is a phone, like this is this is the newer kind of shape of hand shape. This is a classifier hand shape, kind of a bent 5 that represents I'm holding my cell phone.
Yeah.
Because this looks like a classifier that looks like that phone. You picked up the phone and hang up, but it's old, of course. We don't do that. So, okay. Called as a name. That store was called whatever. They called me to be the president of the club. And then the phone call, make a call. Go ahead and call me. And calling is directional, like call someone and they called me. Like call me. Or call me. Hey, call me. Right? The old way it still work for sign language. And then phone call, I can't. We talked about can't, like I can, I can't. Great or wonderful also means like miracle. It also is very similar to Sunday or Sabbath, because it's supposed to be wonderful day. Miracle is wonderful. There's a lot of correlations between those things and meaning. Little meaning you could be little as in small, showing the size this way is little. Little as in when I was little, when I was younger, right? Or just a little bit, right? Maybe you're going to show how much of something you want to eat, or very small, right? Or just for a tiny, tiny little bit, right? You would also sign that. Is your room just a little bit messy? Maybe just a little bit, right? A lot of things that we do similar, right? We might do some of those similar gestures and movements when we're talking about stuff. So it makes sense. Make, like you're going to make something. This also is create. So if you are not creative, but just the action to create something, they're both verbs, create and make. They're the same sign. Instructor rebuild. Okay. Never. So it's like a out, palm out, starts out, and then it starts to curve towards yourself and then back down and then back out. It's kind of a really weird movement, and I have no idea why it's never.
I can't think of.
One of those things you just need to kind of look at yourself and kind of practice it and just memorize it, because there's not a whole lot of, there's not some good, so yeah.
I mean, this part where it's just like done, no, I don't know, pushing
that
away,
part
but
makes sense. But then the round part, like maybe you're thinking about it, but
maybe never.
like, push it away. No way, never. Maybe I'm never gonna be fat again. Maybe I'm never gonna,
yeah,
whatever, have a big belly. Never.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. Be silly with it. Okay. New. You're scooping something up. I like to think of it like, I don't know, you just get this thing.
New information in.
New. You want to, it's a new little baby bird. New, something new. Again, another movement that doesn't really have an iconic association. You just kind of have to come up with your own little, really mnemonic, because your visual cue to kind of help you know an association. OIC. Now there's a couple of ways you can do this. This means, and it's mouth, okay? And eyebrows and head nodding, or right? Oh, like, oh my gosh, like, oh, I see. And then you can be like, I see. Oh, I get it. That's what that's really about. You would be appropriate way to use that sign. Couple of just, there's also OIC, and that's kind of a joke because it's O and then the letter I and then the letter C, but it's not like, you're not going to say, oh, I see. Just this kind of an ASL, just O, I see. And they put it in hyphens, O-I-C. So that, and to say that that's what that sign means. He's saying just shift.
Just shift, yeah. Okay.
I've seen them sign or, right? So you could do the body shift. You like pizza, burgers, pizza, burgers. So this or this. And you could sign which afterwards.
Which one?
And an applied or with the body shift when you're kind of back and forth between two things. And then he's got the finger spelled O-R. And then you can also do this or this.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Right. And he's saying there is initialized version of sign that means or. This version is not recommended if you're taking an ASL test. Or it's not ASL. This or this, like, I think that's the English sign, exact English.
Oh.
I'm not sure. I haven't seen that sign in a while. I'm not as familiar with that one. And then people, you already know this sign.
I know this one.
Yep, that's what I thought.
The people on the bus go up
Yeah.
and down.
All right. Yeah. The chickens on the bus go.
Yeah, exactly. All day long.
Just do all the animals on the bus and then practice your animal signs and then
Yeah. Literally all day.
Yeah. The mommy's on the bus. Oh boy. Okay, sometimes. Remember we talked about someone and something, but this is different. This is sometimes.
Oh.
Occasionally.
Yeah.
Sometimes, occasionally, once in a while, you can add the little wiggle thingle. That means very rarely, not often, right? Not happening often, again and again and again. It's not happening often, just sometimes. Sometimes you feel lonely. Let's see.
Always.
Sometimes you can also do this. It can either be on the back of the hand like this or like this. Like that means like once.
Okay.
Once while, once. And with the repetitive motion, it kind of makes it more than one time, but not often, if that makes sense. Just
Yeah.
occasionally, rarely, sometimes. Sometimes. He did it both ways. And talk, chat with. Okay. Talk, right? Talking, and so you can be like, blah, 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 talk. Blah, 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 blah. You can face it and act like you're talking to a person. You can have this, which means like a talk to. I'm talking to you, I'm communicating, I'm having a conversation. There's also this, if you add the C, it becomes kind of an initialized sign, but it comes from this. But we're communicating, right? We're talking, we're having communication. Total communication would be like, there's also do S and C, which is SimCom, which is like talking and signing at the same time. So if you ever see this, that's what that means.
Okay.
Abbreviation for talking and signing at the same time in a conversation with someone, because you've got deaf people in the room and you've got hearing people in the room. So instead of going back and forth and interpreting, la, 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 if you have the hearing people and then la, 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 la for the deaf people, sometimes people opt to do both. They talk whatever they're signing and they sign whatever they're talking.
Yeah.
Obviously, both languages are going to suffer a little bit. Usually,
Right.
sign language suffers more than the English because it's our first language. So we speak like this, but we get the signs put in, but they're in English order and we leave out some concepts and sometimes things get misunderstood and lost. So SimCom is not recommended. If you're going to be in a situation with deaf and hearing, it's either better to have an assigned interpreter that's going to interpret people's conversations, or if you're going to take the role of interpreter, then that's what you are. You're an interpreter and you're going back and forth interpreting what people are saying, or you take turns and you let them finish and then you explain to the hearing person what they just said and then you go back to, so obviously in situations where it's like a social party or like a small group of people, like if it's just one person, like one hearing person and a deaf person, that works usually pretty well to interpret if you're comfortable, right? If you're on that level that you can comfortably interpret for them. If you're in a group of people and there's a whole bunch of people talking and signing, but you're sort of having if you're talking to the whole group, then in that case, you might want to, if you don't have someone who's assigned to be your interpreter, you might choose to SimCom. That's the lesser of two evils, because then at least you're trying to give people generally what's going on. You're not leaving out the hearing people, but you're not leaving out the deaf people either. And people don't get impatient with the conversation and what's going on. So anyway, there's also chat, like you're chatting, two people are talking to each other, chat.
Mm-hmm.
Chat with or talk with. Trying to see if we got.
So if I was saying, for example, like, hold on, I'm talking to dad or something, would it be more like I'm talking with him, or
you can be like talking.
I'm talking.
You even having a discussion, like discussion, or two of us are talking.
Okay,
right?
but
the two of us are
more
talking.
just like
any of those would be still grammatically correct or contextually correct, I guess. Like dad and I, the two of us were talking. This to me seems more casual. This to me seems a little bit more formal. This means communicating. And so I would probably only use this when I'm talking about communication.
Yeah, right.
A conversation. There's another one. Conversation, communication, communicate. This one is like two friends talking or chatting.
Okay.
Kind of a casual situation. This is another one that I haven't seen in a long time. So I looked at him like, oh yeah, or sorry, he's got his hands out. So up and down, up and down. I'm not sure if that's supposed to mean the jaws going up and down. Not sure why. Let me just make a note for chat. Talking to yourself. Anyway, holy cow. Yeah, he talked about discuss, he talked about lecture. There's more to this sweet talk. There's also talk a lot. So there's a few more signs. I think when we review, I don't want to add too many more signs, and we're way over time and almost to the end. So let's just do our last sign here. And then I think we can go into that word a little bit more. So thing, it's a thing. It's something you can hold. So that's one way. It's kind of in your hand. That's things. If you do multiples and you're moving them, that's things, but just thing or things. One hand, he's doing one-handed. And we talked about this being something, one or alone.
So
pretty much it.
wait, okay. Always is just bigger.
Up here, here by your head. Something is kind of down.
Oh, okay.
Something, someone, it's below your shoulders. So always, this usually, most of the time is up here. If you drop it down, you're going to get it in context. So for example, people like, really? They do that? No, like always, right? I'm not doing it up here, but that doesn't mean always.
Yeah.
It's just, you're going to get it. I think it's just context, but most of the time, always that I've experienced is up here, and something or someone tends to be, the way that they introduce it tends to be in this location on your body. Okay. So yeah, thanks for sticking in there.
Great,
Thanks
yeah.
me for
Thank you.
for losing track of time.
No worries.
Anyway.
Oh, I have one sign question.
Yes.
My mom was wanting me to ask you real quick. So we play peekaboo all the time. So if I want to sign like, oh, I found you, would you just do like, I see you? Or
probably.
Okay.
I mean, this is fine, but you
right.
If you want to teach that, this is choose, and this is pick up, but it's also find.
It's also find. Oh, okay.
So you could say, oh, I found you, or you could be like, I see you, whatever.
Yeah.
It's good to do, especially when you're trying to do language immersion with your son, as much language exposure with similar situations as possible. So maybe one time you say, oh, I found you. And then another time you say, oh, I see you,
Okay.
So you're giving him both things mean, oh, well, okay, that's right. That's the end. She sees me, she found me. So then she's getting both. So what if somebody said, so more full language immersion means, what are the possible options for a statement that could be said in this situation? Let's not to one statement. Let's give them exposure to as much statements as possible with all of the signs and words together in that same situation. So every time they see that, there's that association with meaning.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's great.
Make it more challenging for you, include as many signs as possible. Yeah, is always my suggestion.
Okay.
Be creative with it, but yeah. Like maybe one time if you're doing the same game, but maybe there's a different way, a different phrase you could use or something, maybe brainstorm, say, well, what else might I say in this situation? Let's a new phrase that still means the same thing, but let's do some different signs with it.
Yeah. Okay. That's good. That's a good reminder, because sometimes like, okay, be consistent and then he'll remember it. But it's like, no, just do everything.
It's both. If you do it consistently and so they seem like they're opposite things, but you could consistently use multiple things.
Yeah, definitely.
Same situation. Where repetition is for learning, but association is remembering, but association is learning. And so you actually learn more through association and you remember through repetition. I mean, they're kind of tied together, but whenever you put those two pieces together, especially with language for remembering and association, it's way more powerful, like especially for remembering, because you could just memorize, but then if there's no life experience association with language, then there's that missing gap. They don't know how those pieces fit together. I mean, they will eventually when they get higher functions of language, but they develop those things naturally as they grow up and get older, when the language immersion is as full as possible. Obviously, we're not all language experts and we can't all be perfect to make sure that their exposure to language is so full in our home, right? We're limited to what we do, but we don't realize a lot of the times how much we're doing without trying,
Yeah.
how much they get without trying. So
Yeah.
don't need to go too far up.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I hope you have a great weekend,
Yeah,
and
you too.
we'll see you next week.
Okay. Bye, Rebecca.